Hejsa. I have started a new quilt, and it's one I have been planning to make. So I didn't just start it sort of spur of the moment, which I usually do when I start a new quilt. So I don't know if you've seen the film Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, Andy McDowell. Well, there are scenes in the film where you see Bill Murray's character. What's his name? Phil something. He's in this B&B and he's in his bed, and you see a quilt on the bed. And every year my husband and I watch this film, and every year I say, "Oh, I wonder what quilt pattern that is." Well, this year I decided I'm gonna have to figure it out, and I'm gonna make that quilt, or a replica of it. So I spent some time earlier this year. I watched the film again, at least once, where I would just fast forward through most of the film and then stop it whenever that quilt was in frame, and then just slowly watch through it so I could try and figure out how the quilt was made. And I made a pattern for it, and I also made, this is not going to show up very well, is it, in this small space, but so I made a little test of it, and this is just made with random scraps that I had, and I guess I could use this for the quilt proper, but I'm not going to. I'm going to make it from scratch. So these are, the squares are cut to 2.5 inches. I did think after I'd made this that it looked like it was too big. So then I made another sample where I cut the squares to 2 inches. But that was too small, so I'm going with 2.5 inches. But I'm glad that I did make both samples so that I could get an idea of what would be the right size. And then I have an idea for what I might use this for, but anyway, let's put that away. So now I have finally started working on the quilt, and I haven't got my little sort of design drawing of it, so I guess I'll show that in another video about the quilt. Maybe once it's done. Alright. So because the quilt has a lot of squares, and I want it to feel like it's made up of fabrics over the years that someone has collected. And obviously I do have a collection of fabrics that I have amassed over the past, I don't know, couple of decades when I've been sewing. So I really gone deep into my stash, and that has been a lot of fun. Just seeing fabrics that I sort of kind of knew they were there, but then again sort of forgot. Some I did completely forgot that I had. But I don't really fancy cutting individual squares. I can't remember how many I need, but it's definitely 1,000. And I don't fancy cutting 1,000 individual squares and then sewing them together. So what I've done is, actually put that one aside for now. So I have strip pieced lots of strips of varying length. Oh, the sun is really coming in now. I hope we can get on even these harsh shadows. And I also realized that I need a seam ripper. Hold on, I'll be back in a second. Alright, I've got my seam ripper. My favorite one. This lies really nicely in the hand when you're working because it's got the thicker handle. What we're going to do about that bright sunlight? I actually haven't got curtains in this room, so can't really do much about it. Just have to hope that the sun, or not sun, that a cloud will come by soon enough, which I'm sure it will. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so I've been strip piecing things so that I can. So here I pieced 7 different strips together. Actually, the sun has just got even brighter now. We'll just carry on. We'll just pretend like it's not there. And I have sewn the 7 strips in this case together to make a tube, which I will then pick one of the seams at random and open it. Once I've cut them into the width that I need them to be. Yeah, so here's one strip. And then let's pick sort of the opposite. So let's see. So that is the middle one. So take one of those. Let's pick this one. Right, so now I have 2 strips of squares that look sort of random. Obviously, if you look close, you could tell that these were made from the same fabrics. But because I have made these particular ones in sets, so that I can cut 2 from each of them, with a little bit of extra here, just because sometimes when you sew these together and then you cut them, especially if they're longer than this. For this one I wasn't too worried, but might as well stick with the habit. But if it was, say, a 12-inch one that I was cutting into sections, it does sometimes get a little bit astray, so you have to straighten it up again. Right, so now I have got this other one, and I just picked one of the seams at random, and then I can take that apart. And there's another one. And this one, did I cut this to? Yeah, I did. Alright, so then we can take this one. Let's take it apart at the yellow one. Right, there we go. So these will not be right next to each other, so they will be, let's say one is right up in that corner and then the other one might be down in the other corner. So you won't even notice that it's not, or that they're basically the same, and it will help the quilt look like it's pretty random, which is what I really want. I don't know if you can see that. I just noticed that that is a bit wonky. I think that might be because this is 7, so an uneven number, so that when it's folded into or sewn into the tube and I ironed it, they were sort of on top of each other. You can see the fold there, so it wasn't cut evenly. Maybe not so great. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. See if maybe I can. No, I can't really cut any of it, but I think when I sew it together I can just sort of adjust it. I guess that's a good thing about fabric, that you can adjust things. Right, so now I have these, and I am really so excited to get started properly on this quilt, because I've been sort of referring to it as my side quest over this past year. And now I'm finally working on it. And like I said, it's been a lot of fun to go really deep into my stash. Unfortunately, that means that my cupboard with fabrics is now a complete mess, just falling all over the place. And I have a stack of fabrics that is only getting higher as I'm pulling more fabrics. But I want this to feel really, just really scrappy. And I will use some of the fabrics for the border. So I think I'm almost at the point where I don't need to pull any more fabrics out, which is good. In a way, it's good that I have done this, because it will force me to tidy up my fabric cabinet. And I've been needing to do that for a while. Where you can see here how this is sort of folded under. So when I cut them, I'll have to be more careful. I'm not going to be super worrying about it, but yeah, just be mindful of how I cut things. So I think that I have figured out that the quilt in the film is probably some kind of what's it called, an Irish chain or something. So I probably could have found a more effective way of piecing everything, but because I do want to use a lot of different fabrics and make it feel all scrappy, I'll just have to do it this way that I have devised. So my fabrics for this is just a complete mix, and this is sort of a good example of it. So here is, I guess, vintage. I can't remember if it was a pillowcase, and then there's some random fabrics, and this one I've had for ages, and this is bedding from IKEA from many years ago. And then we have some, I can't remember if it's Cotton and Steel or Ruby Star Society. And then we have one of Julie Pink's dinosaurs. There's another one of her dinosaur fabrics that will show up in the quilt. I don't know, I just think that's funny. Have a little dinosaur in there. And a friend also sent me some really nice sort of reproduction prints, which is something I like, but it's not really something that I buy. But I think it's gonna work out really well with everything else that's in the quilt. For example, these ones, they go very well together. And that one, and the vintage one as well. And of course I'm using some Denise Smith fabrics in the quilt as well, because I love Denise Smith fabrics, so that had to be in there as well. To be honest, I could probably have made a quilt just from Denise Smith fabrics, but I wanted to, I guess, reflect everything that I amassed in my stash. So yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment, and I will be working on for a while yet. My plan is to finish this by Groundhog Day next year, 2026, which is in about 2.5 months, or just under 3 months, I don't know, something like that. So I still have a lot of fabrics to cut and sew together and then cut apart again. But there's something weirdly satisfying about strip piecing all this, and I'm also chain piecing them, which makes it go really fast. But I have to really keep my head straight and make sure I sew the right piece to the right piece. So I can't wait to see the finished quilt. I'm still wondering about how I'm going to quilt it. I think I'll have to have another look at the film to get an idea of how that quilt is quilted. But I can worry about that later. For now I just have to cut some more strips, sew them together, and then sort of take them apart. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day, whatever you're making.